The strange call. Jake never expected his night to begin with a call like this. He was just finishing his last plumbing job, tired and ready to go home, when his phone buzzed. The voice on the other side was soft, almost musical, but there was something odd in the way she said his name. "Hello, Jake. I need your help. My pipes are broken. It is urgent." The address was at the edge of town, in a place Jake had never been. It was far, where the streetlights ended and old trees grew thick. Still, Jake could not say no. He needed the extra money. As he drove through the dark, the city lights faded behind him, and a strange silence filled his old van. He finally reached the house. But this was no normal house. It was tall and curved, made of shiny metal, with glowing blue lines running. Across the walls, the garden was filled with giant flowers he had never seen, glowing gently in the moonlight. Jake's heart beat faster. Was this really someone's home? He knocked, not sure if anyone would answer. The door slid open by itself, making no sound. Cold air brushed against his face, carrying a sweet smell. For a moment, Jake thought maybe he should turn back. But then he saw her. She stood in the doorway, tall and graceful. Her skin was a soft gold, her eyes bright like emeralds. Long, silvery hair fell around her shoulders. She wore a dress that looked like it was made of moving water. Jake had never seen anyone so beautiful, so strange. For a moment, he forgot how to speak. "Hello, Jake," she said again. "My name is Zara. Thank you for coming." Jake nodded, trying to act normal. "No problem, ma'am. Where's the problem?" She smiled, but it was a sad smile. "It is in the kitchen. Please, follow me." Inside, the house was even stranger. The walls were smooth and curved, with no corners. Lights glowed softly from the floor. Machines hummed quietly in the background. Jake saw strange pictures on the walls, stars, planets, and other worlds. The kitchen was full of odd things. Floating pots, a fridge with a screen showing moving shapes, and a sink that seemed to sing as water ran through it. But water was spilling onto the floor, and steam filled the air. Jake knelt down, opening his toolbox, and tried to ignore the way Zara was watching him. As he worked, Zara sat at the table, hands folded in her lap. She kept glancing at him, her eyes curious, but also worried. "Jake," she said softly, "do you ever feel out of place on your own planet?" Jake looked up, surprised. "Sometimes. Why?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood and walked to the window, looking out at the glowing flowers. "Sometimes I feel like I do not belong. Even here." Jake wondered if she was talking about Earth, or somewhere much farther away. The pipes under the sink were unlike any he had seen. They were made of metal, but it was warm to the touch and shimmered with strange colors. As Jake turned the wrench, the pipes hummed, and tiny sparks of blue light danced along his fingers. He shivered, but kept going. He didn't want Zara to see. He was scared. Suddenly, he heard a noisy soft growl, low and deep, coming from somewhere behind the kitchen wall. Jake froze. He looked up at Zara, but she only smiled a little too quickly. "Do not worry, Jake. Old houses make strange sounds," but Jake wasn't so sure. He wiped sweat from his brow, pretending to focus on his work, but his mind was racing. What kind of house was this? What kind of woman was Zara? And what was making that sound behind the wall? He tried to shake off his nerves. Maybe it was just a pet, or a machine. Still, his hands trembled as he tightened the last bolt. The water stopped leaking, and the pipes glowed softly in thanks. Jake stood, wiping his hands on his shirt. "All fixed?" he said. Forcing a smile, Zara's eyes shone as she thanked him, her voice gentle and warm. She offered him a drink, something glowing and blue, in a glass that felt lighter than air. Jake took a small sip, just to be polite, and felt a sudden warmth spread through his body. "Thank you, Jake," Zara said. "You are very brave." Jake didn't understand why she said that, but he smiled anyway. Outside, the night was even darker. Inside, he felt like he had stepped into another world. And deep down, he knew this job was only the beginning. He never saw the shadowy figure watching him from the hallway, silent and hidden. Not yet. Asterisk shadows and secrets. Jake's hands still tingled from the blue drink as he finished cleaning up his tools. The strange warmth inside him hadn't faded, but he didn't want to ask Zara about it. She stood close, almost too close, watching his every move. Her emerald eyes never blinked. "Do you like your work?" Zara asked suddenly, her voice soft and curious. Jake shrugged, trying to sound casual. "I fix things. I like helping people, but sometimes I wish for something different." "Oh gee," tilted her head as if she was studying him. "Different is not always safe, Jake." Jake laughed nervously. "Tonight's already different enough." Zara's lips curled into a small smile. "Maybe, but you are not afraid. That is rare on this world." Jake wanted to ask what she meant, but before he could speak, a loud metallic clang echoed from deeper in the house. This time, it was not a soft growl. It was something heavy, dragging along metal, and it made the lights flicker. Jake looked at Zara, but her face gave nothing away. "Is someone else here?" Jake asked, keeping his voice steady. She shook her head quickly. "No one you need to meet. Please stay with me in the kitchen." Jake was not satisfied. "That sound, do you have pets? Or machines?" Zara hesitated. For a moment, her gold skin flashed with a faint shimmer. She walked to the kitchen door and locked it with a touch of her finger. The lock glowed green. She looked back at Jake and spoke in a lower voice. "This house is not like others on your planet. There are protections. For me, for anyone I trust." Jake tried to hide his confusion. "Protections from what?" Instead of answering, Zara walked to a cabinet and took out a round, silver object. She handed it to Jake. It was cool, but began to glow when he touched it. "What is this?" Jake asked. "It is a sensor. It shows danger. If it turns red, you must run." Jake looked down at the sensor, wondering if this was some kind of game. But Zara's face was deadly serious. "Promise me, Jake, if it turns red, you run. Do not look back." He nodded slowly, feeling a chill run through his body. Just then, another sound echoed closer. This time, it was followed by soft scratching, like claws on the floor. Jake tried not to look nervous, but he could feel sweat on his forehead. To distract himself, he glanced around the kitchen. Strange machines lined the shelves, blinking with colored lights. There was a large screen above the table, showing images of stars and spaceships moving silently across a dark sky. Jake wondered if Zara missed her home, wherever it was. Zara watched him quietly. "Do you believe in other worlds, Jake?" He nodded. "I guess I do now." She seemed sad. "I came here for a reason. My people, they do not understand me. I thought maybe humans would." Jake tried to smile, but his mind was still on the noises outside the door. Suddenly, the sensor in his hand flashed orange and buzzed softly. Zara gasped, grabbing Jake's arm. She pulled him close, her voice a whisper. "Don't move." The scratching at the door grew louder. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He looked at Zara, seeing fear in her eyes for the first time. Then, just as suddenly, the sound stopped. The sensor went quiet and faded back to silver. Zara let out a shaky breath, her shoulders relaxing. "It is safe." For now, Jake looked at her, confused and worried. "What was that?" Zara shook her head. "Something I cannot control." Not tonight. You must trust me, Jake. This house is not only my home. It is also my cage. Jake thought about leaving. But Zara's hand was still on his arm, gentle but strong. He realized she was just as scared as he was. "Do you want to leave?" she asked quietly. Jake shook his head. "Not yet. I want to help, even if it's dangerous." Zara's eyes softened. "You are brave. That is why I called you." They sat together in the kitchen, the silence heavy between them. Jake tried to ask more about her world, but Zara only gave small, sad answers. She talked about suns with blue light, about dancing on ice that never melted, about songs sung with thoughts instead of words. Jake listened, fascinated and confused. As the night grew deeper, Zara stood up. "You should rest. My home is safe for now." Jake nodded, but as he followed her to a small guest room, he felt a pair of eyes watching him from the shadows. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was part of something much bigger than a broken pipe. The sensor glowed faintly by his bed. Jake held it tight, wondering what secrets Zara was still hiding and what would happen when morning came. The warning Jake did not sleep well that night. Shadows crept along the walls of his small room, and every little noise made him jump. He held the silver sensor tight in his hand, watching it for any sign of color. Sometimes he thought he heard soft footsteps outside his door, but when he listened harder, everything went quiet. Morning on this side of town was strange. Through the round window, Jake saw two suns rising above the trees, one big and gold, one small and blue. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. But when he touched the glass, it was cold and real. He remembered Zara's sad words about her home, and he wondered if she missed her own sons. Zara met him in the hallway, already awake. She wore a long robe of silver and blue that shimmered with every step. Her hair was pulled back, showing her high cheekbones and pointed ears. Her eyes were even brighter in the daylight, almost glowing. "Did you sleep?" she asked softly. Jake tried to smile, a little. "Your house is different." Zara nodded. "I am sorry. I forget how strange it must be for you." They went to the kitchen, where breakfast was not like any Jake had seen before. There were clear fruits that tasted like sweet water, bread that steamed in his hands, and a bowl of tiny blue eggs. Jake tried everything, feeling both curious and nervous. As they ate, Zara kept glancing at the hallway. Jake noticed her worry. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Zara leaned closer, her voice low. "You remember the noise last night?" Jake nodded, his heart beating faster. "It is not safe for you here. Last night, you heard my protector. She keeps me safe during the season, but she does not trust anyone, not even humans." Jake frowned. "Season? What do you mean?" Zara hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "On my world, we have a time each year when emotions are stronger. It is our mating season. My people must stay hidden or we become a target. Others hunt you, sometimes to hurt, sometimes to claim. That is why I am here, far from my kind." Jake stared at her, unsure what to say. Zara's words felt heavy and serious. "You're hiding from your own people?" She nodded. "Yes, and you, Jake. You must promise me something. If anything happens, if you see the sensor turn red or hear the protectors growl, run. Do not try to help me. Do not look back." Jake shook his head. "I can't just leave you if you're in trouble." Zara's eyes filled with worry. "If you stay, you might be hurt. My protector is not gentle with strangers. She is very strong, and during the season, she is unpredictable." Jake reached out, touching Zara's hand gently. "I'm not afraid. I've never met anyone like you, and I don't want to run away." Zara smiled, but her eyes were sad. "You do not understand. When my protector senses fear, she becomes dangerous. And if other aliens find me here, you will be in more danger than you can imagine." Before Jake could answer, the lights flickered and a loud crash echoed from below. The sensor in his pocket began to glow orange and buzz again. Zara's eyes widened. "Stay here," she ordered. She rushed out of the kitchen and disappeared down the hallway. Jake's heart raced. He knew she told him to stay, but curiosity pulled at him. He waited a minute, then two, listening to the distant sounds, shouting. A growl, something breaking. Against his better judgment, he crept into the hall and followed the noise. He reached a door at the end of the hallway. The door was made of dark metal and had no handle. From behind it, Jake heard Zara's voice, angry pleading, and another voice, lower and rougher, growling in a strange language. Jake pressed his ear to the door, trying to understand. Suddenly, the sensor in his hand flashed red. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to run, just like Zara had warned. But he couldn't move. He wanted to help her. He knocked hard on the door. "Zara, are you okay?" The growling stopped. For a second, there was silence. Then the door slid open just a crack, and Zara's face appeared, pale and frightened. "Jake, go," she hissed. "Please?" Before he could argue, something huge moved in the darkness behind her shadow with glowing yellow eyes. The protector jot, Jake stumbled backward, heart pounding, as the door slammed shut. The red light on the sensor faded, then disappeared. He stood alone in the hallway, his legs shaking. He could still hear muffled voices and angry growls. He couldn't do anything except wait. After a long time, Zara returned, her face tired but calm. She hugged herself, looking small and sad. "I told you not to follow," she whispered. "Next time, you might not be so lucky." Jake wanted to say he was sorry, but the words stuck in his throat. He realized he was no longer just a guest. He was part of Zara's secret, and now, her danger to Dot. The basement door. Jake spent the rest of the morning in silence, fixing little things around Zara's house. He tried to stay busy, but his mind was stuck on the night before, the growling, the red light, the strange warning. Every time he passed the end of the hallway, he glanced at the dark metal door. It was always closed. No sounds came from behind it now, but he could feel something was watching him. Zara acted normal. She brought him lunch, a bowl of steaming soup with glowing orange slices and bread as soft as clouds. She smiled, thanked him for his help, and talked about Earth as if nothing had happened. But Jake could see the fear in her eyes when she thought he wasn't looking. "Are you sure everything is okay?" Jake asked quietly. Zara's hands trembled. "Yes, my protector has calmed. There is no danger for now." Jake wanted to believe her, but his gut told him something was wrong. He remembered the red light on the sensor, the shadow in the darkness, and Zara's desperate voice. Maybe he should have run last night. But now he felt trapped, caught between curiosity and fear. Unable to leave after lunch, Zara excused herself to make a call. "Do not wander," she said gently. "Some doors are not safe." Jake waited until she disappeared down another hallway, then walked slowly toward the basement door. The hallway felt colder, the air thick with quiet energy. He reached the door and listened. Nothing. But the curiosity burning in his chest was too strong to ignore. He touched the surface of the door. It was smooth, cold, almost like stone. There was no handle, but when he pressed his palm to the center, the metal rippled under his hand. He felt a small shock, then a tiny click. The door opened just a crack. Jake peered inside. The basement was dim, lit only by blue lines running across the walls and ceiling. Shadows danced in the corners. In the center stood a cage made of shining metal bars. Inside the cage was a creature large, with thick fur, golden eyes, and 4 powerful legs. It looked almost like a giant wolf, but its face was too clever. Its gaze too knowing. The creature watched Jake without moving. It did not growl or attack. Instead, it made a low, rumbling sound, most like a sigh. Jake stared back, frozen. Suddenly, the creature spoke not with words, but in Jake's mind. You are not a threat, but you do not belong here, human. Jake stumbled backward, shocked. He had never heard a voice inside his head before. Who? What are you, protector? The voice replied. Keeper of the last season, guardian of secrets. You must leave. Before Jake could say anything more, he heard Zara's voice calling down the hall. He slammed the door shut, heart thumping. He backed away just as Zara appeared, her eyes wide. Jake, what did I tell you? She whispered, voice shaking. Hi, I'm sorry, Jake said, breathless. I just wanted to understand. Zara looked both angry and scared. She took his hand and pulled him away from the door. My protector is here for my safety, but she is not meant for humans. Her mind is strong, too strong for your kind. Jake felt dizzy. She spoke to me. In my head, Zara squeezed his hand. She warned you, didn't she? Jake nodded. She said, I don't belong here, that I should leave. Zara led him to the living room and sat him down. There are things about my world that are dangerous for humans to know. My protector has guarded my family for generations. She knows every secret. But during the mating season, she becomes even more protective and more unpredictable. Jake looked at Zara. Why did you call me then? Why did you let me in? For a long moment, Zara said nothing. She stared at the floor, then spoke softly. Because I was lonely. Because I thought I could trust you. And because sometimes, even the most guarded need someone to talk to. Jake felt her pain. He reached out and touched her shoulder gently. I want to help you, but you have to be honest with me. Zara wiped a tear from her cheek and nodded. You're right. I will tell you everything. But first, promise me no. More secrets, no more doors. Jake smiled a little. No more doors. As the evening sun set outside, strange colors filled the room. For the first time, Zara looked less afraid. Jake sensed their bond growing something deeper than just fear and secrets. But he knew the real danger was still hiding in the shadows of the basement, waiting for the season's end. The truth comes out night crept slowly over the alien house, filling every curved wall and glowing flower outside with a strange, silent light. Jake sat in the living room, his hands wrapped around a cup of warm, golden tea. He waited while Zara stood by the window, looking up at the stars. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Jake finally broke the silence. Zara, you promised to tell me the truth. She didn't look at him at first. Her voice trembled, low and honest. I have been hiding so much, Jake, not just from you, but from everyone. My world, my people, even myself. Jake nodded gently. You can trust me. Zara turned to him, her emerald eyes shining with pain. My species, Sonari, has always lived in fear. Every year, during the mating season, our emotions become uncontrollable. It is nature's way. We search for a partner, but if we are not careful, rivals come. Sometimes, those rivals want to claim us by force. 'Tis cruel, but it is our law. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. That's not right. You shouldn't have to hide. Zara shook her head sadly. That is why I left. I ran away from my own kind. I thought if I hid on Earth, no one would find me. My protector, she followed to keep me safe. But she is not just a guard. She is a symbol. If anyone learns I'm here, others will come. Some will want to help. Most will want to capture. Jake tried to imagine living with that fear every day, never feeling safe, always watching the shadows. Why did you call me? Out of all people, why me? Zara's cheeks flushed with gold. She took a shaky breath. I saw you in the market one day. You helped a lost child. I smiled at everyone. You weren't afraid of anyone, even when you didn't understand them. I thought maybe you would understand me. Jake's heart softened. I'm glad you called me Zara, even if this is all a little crazy. She gave him a sad, grateful smile. It is not just the mating season, Jake. It's the loneliness. Every Zanari who leaves home becomes a stranger. Earth is so bright, so busy, but it is also lonely for someone who cannot truly belong. A long pause hung between them. Jake watched Zara fight her tears. He moved closer and placed his hand over hers. Suddenly, the lights in the house flickered. The sensor on the table flashed orange, then yellow. Zara's face tensed. Someone is near. Jake's eyes widened. Another Zanari. Zara nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Maybe. Or maybe a rival. They can sense me. They can sense the season. My protector will defend me, but if they come inside, even you could be in danger. Jake stood up, resolve in his voice. What should we do? Zara hesitated. You could leave, Jake. You could be safe if you run. He shook his head. I'm not leaving you alone. Not. Now, suddenly, a deep howl echoed through the house. The protector's voice loud, warning, and fierce. Zara moved quickly to the wall, touching a hidden panel. Blue shields covered the windows, humming with energy. The door locked with a sharp, electric sound. Jake swallowed hard. Are we trapped? Zara shook her head. We are protected. For now, but the shield won't last forever. Jake peered out a crack in the window. Outside, the flowers were bending, and the sky glowed with a strange purple light. Shadows moved just beyond the garden, a tall, thin shape, shifting and changing color as it walked. Zara whispered, that is a Zanari male. They are drawn by the season. He must have followed my signal. Jake stared, anger and fear mixing in his chest. If he gets in, what will happen? Zara's voice was small. He will challenge my protector. If he wins, he will try to claim me. That is the way of our kind. But I do not want him. I do not want any of them. I only want it. Peace. Jake squeezed her hand, his jaw set. Then we fight. Or we run. But we do it together. Zara's eyes filled with tears, real silver tears that sparkled in the shielded light. You are not like the others, Jake. You do not know how rare that is. He smiled softly. Maybe that's why you called me. The protector's growl shook the house again. Lights flashed, red warning of a coming fight. Zara stood tall, more determined than before. Then let them come. I am not alone anymore. Jake stood beside her, ready for whatever was coming next, knowing he was now part of a secret war between worlds. Asterisk, the chase. Jake barely had time to think as the alien house shook with the asterisk. Protectors. Angry growl. Red lights pulsed along the curved walls, and a siren wailed in a strange musical language. The garden outside was full of swirling shadows, and the shielded windows glowed blue with energy. Zara grabbed Jake's arm, her voice urgent, but steady. We must move now. My protector will try to hold him off, but it won't last long. The challenger is stronger than I expected. Jake's heart hammered in his chest, but he nodded, following her through twisting halls. The walls themselves shifted, doors closing behind them, panels sliding open to reveal new paths. It felt like the house was alive, helping them escape. Suddenly, the ground shook as something slammed into the front door. A low, wild snarl echoed through the rooms. Jake looked back and saw a shadowy figure, tall, silver-skinned, with burning eyes, moving quickly toward them, phasing through the walls like a ghost. "Hurry," Zara urged, pulling Jake toward a hidden door at the end of the hall. She pressed her hand to the panel and the wall melted away, revealing a steep staircase. Leading down, they raced down the stairs, the air turning cooler. Blue lights guided their way as the house rumbled with the sounds of a terrible fight above, snarling, crashing, the Protector's roars, and the Challenger's answering howl at the bottom. They found a small room filled with Zara's strange technology, holographic maps, blinking crystals, and a small, round spaceship waiting in the shadows. Zara rushed to a control panel, her fingers flying over glowing buttons. "We have only minutes, Jake. The ship is ready, but the gate is locked. My Protector is fighting the rival for us, but if he loses," Jake swallowed, not sure what to say. "What can I do to help?" Zara looked at him with both fear and hope in her eyes. "The ship needs a second person to start. You must trust me and place your hand here on the core." Jake stepped forward, his hands shaking, and placed his palm on the smooth silver core. It was warm, pulsing gently. Instantly, lights flared through the room. The ship began to hum, coming alive under their touch. Just then, the door above burst open with a thunderous crash. Heavy footsteps pounded down the stairs. The Challenger was coming, his silver skin shimmering with anger, his eyes blazing yellow in the dark. Zara's voice shook. "He cannot follow if we launch now. Hold on." Jake nodded, feeling fear and adrenaline mix in his veins. The ship's hatch slid shut. A soft, blue energy shield wrapped around them. The rival alien appeared at the top of the stairs, snarling. Reaching for them with clawed hands, Zara pressed a final button. The ship roared to life, lifting off the floor in a sudden, blinding burst of light. Jake clung to the seat as they shot up through a hidden tunnel, the sound of the rival's furious scream fading behind them. They broke through the roof, into the open night sky. The stars wheeled above them, closer than Jake had ever seen before. Below, the house glowed with wild energy. The Protector's shape, barely visible, locked in battle with the Challenger. Zara set a course into the dark, guiding the ship away from Earth's surface. Jake watched as the strange house shrank into the distance, feeling both relief and sadness. He realized he might never see home again, but he had saved a friend. For a moment, silence filled the ship. Jake tried to steady his breathing. He glanced at Zara. She was pale, but smiling, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You saved me, Jake," she whispered. "You did not run away, even when I was in danger." Jake gave a small laugh. "Honestly, I was too scared to run, but I couldn't leave you behind, Zara. I made a promise." She looked at him with shining eyes. "You are different from my people and from yours. You choose kindness even when you are afraid." The ship's window showed the stars drifting past. Jake realized his life had changed forever. He reached out and Zara took his hand, her fingers warm and strong. "Where will we go?" Jake asked. Voice low. Zara smiled, hope shining on her face for the first time. "Anywhere we want, now. As long as we're together, I am not afraid." A faint message came through the ship's speaker, farewell from the Protector, wishing Zara happiness and freedom. The two of them sat quietly, side by side, flying into the unknown. Earth was behind them, but a new story had just begun. A new beginning. The stars looked different when Jake saw them from space. He had dreamed of the sky as a boy, staring up from his old backyard, wondering what was out there. Now, sitting beside Zara in a small alien ship, the stars didn't seem so far away. They glowed brighter and moved slowly past the window, painting their faces with silver light. For a long time, neither Jake nor Zara spoke. They were tired and quiet, holding hands as the ship drifted beyond Earth's pull. Down below, the blue planet shrank, its familiar clouds swirling slowly over the land. Jake felt a strange sadness, a longing for home, but also a quiet hope, as if a heavy weight had lifted from his heart. Zara watched him closely. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. Jake nodded, giving a small smile. "I think so. It just feels different, leaving everything behind." Zara squeezed his hand. "You are not alone, I promise. We have each other now." He looked at her and saw how much she had changed, how the fear and loneliness from before were gone. There was strength in her eyes, and something more. Trust. The ship hummed softly around them. Its lights changed colors, responding to their touch and their voices. Zara guided them away from Earth, entering a path she called the safe lane, an invisible road that only a Zanari ship could find. Here, no one could follow, and the signals of the season would not be detected by her rivals. Jake took a deep breath. "Where will we go?" Zara smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "There are peaceful planets where no one knows me. Places with blue forests and pink rivers, mountains taller than anything on Earth. You could see all of them if you want." Jake laughed quietly, still in disbelief. "A plumber from Earth flying between stars. My friends will never believe." This, Zara's laughter joined his, soft and musical. "Maybe one day you can tell them, when it is safe." Suddenly, a gentle chime sounded from the console. Zara checked the display and nodded. "We are almost out of Earth's reach. My protector's message is still with us. She says the rival has left. We are safe." Jake felt relief, but also a deep gratitude. "I wish I could thank her." Zara placed her palm on the controls.
"He knows."
"She risked everything to protect me, and now you risked everything too." Jake's heart beat faster. He realized he cared for Zara more than he had ever cared for anyone. He looked at her, searching for the right words. "You're not alone, Zara. Not anymore." A soft silence fell between them. Then, slowly, Zara leaned in and pressed her forehead to his. It was not a kiss, but it was more. It was a promise, one that needed no words. The ship floated onward, leaving behind all the fear and danger. Through the window, Jake saw strange lights flicker in the dark, distant planets and unknown worlds waiting for them. He wondered what adventures were ahead, and for the first time, he felt excited, not afraid. "Will your people still look for you?" Jake asked quietly. "Maybe, one day," Zara answered, her voice calm. "But I am not running anymore. I am choosing my own path. With you." They shared a warm meal, laughing about small things, Earth food, the funny noise the ship made, the strange way time seemed to move faster in space. They planned their next steps to find a quiet planet, to build a new life, to discover the universe together. Before they slept, Jake stood by the window, watching the endless sky. He thought about his old life, the quiet evenings, the small jobs, the dreams he had buried. He realized he had changed. He was braver, stronger, because of Zara. Because he chose to stay. Even when it was dangerous, Zara joined him, wrapping her arm around his shoulder. Together, they looked out at the future that belonged to both human and alien. To kindness, courage, and new beginnings. As the ship sailed farther from Earth, Jake whispered, "Thank you, Zara, for choosing me." Zara smiled, her eyes full of hope. "Thank you, Jake, for showing me what it means to be free." And as the stars welcomed them, they knew they were not just escaping the past, they were creating a new story. One that would be told among the stars for generations to come.